Okay, now bonds price here, bonds price, the issue price of the bond may not necessarily be the same as the maturity value, the face value, or par value of the bond. Okay, this is why in this chapter there's 3 different cases. We may be issuing bond at the maturity value. So now you know this maturity means just the face value of the bond. If the face value is 1,000, you issue it as 1,000, meaning if I'm the company, I'm collecting 1,000. This is issuing at maturity value. Issuing at a value the same as its face value, par value. Sometimes company will be issuing the bond at a discount. This usually happens if the interest rate that a company is willing to offer to the market is not as attractive, lower than what the market's interest rate is what's the anticipated market interest rate. So in this case, if a face value is 1,000, even though the company is issuing this bond, they may not be able to get cash that's worth 1,000. It may be something like 980. The difference here, the $20 difference, is what we call the discount on a bond. So this discount represents that the company is not able to get the face value of the bond, even though they're issuing this to the creditor, meaning later on they have to pay 1,000 back to them. But at this moment when they issue the bond, they're not actually borrowing $1,000. They are only able to borrow a dollar amount less than 1,000. This is called a discount on a bond. Okay, now issued at a premium is the opposite to discount. Issued at a premium, if the interest rate your company is able to offer to the public is, let's say, 8%, public is anticipating only 6% of interest. So obviously your company is offering something very attractive. Your bond, in terms of creditors, if they want to invest money, they're getting more back if they borrow money to your company compared to borrow to other companies. So in this case, companies often will be able to issue bonds at a premium. Okay, premium is at a dollar amount above $1,000. So it could be $1,200, $1,100. As long as it's above face value, it's called a premium on bonds. And the premium is referring to the differences between the dollar amount that company is actually able to borrow against the dollar amount stated on the face value of the bond, maturity value. Now, a very important concept to all these 3 situations, very important concept is that regardless of what's the dollar amount that the company is actually able to receive at the time point they borrow money, this part is always the same. What they return to the creditor later on is always the same. It should always be the face value of the bond, the maturity value of the bond. So in all 3 cases here, you see the issue price. Issue price equals the cash that a company is able to receive at the moment they borrow money from others. However, issue price may not necessarily be the same as maturity value. Issue price may not necessarily be the same as maturity value. It could be the same. That's the first case. They borrow money, $1,000. Bond certificate states $1,000. Second case, their interest rate is not as attractive, lower than the market, then they issue bond at a discount. They're not able to get 1,000. They only get about 980, 970, but later they still have to pay 1,000. Third case, they borrow more than $1,000. This is a premium. If your interest rate is higher than the market's interest rate. If it's a premium, later on again you are still paying back just $1,000 to creditor. Okay, but earlier you borrowed more. So regardless of these cases, at the end, whatever is on the bond certificate, that's the dollar amount at the end the company is paying back to the creditor. Okay, regardless of what they borrowed in the first place, they're always paying off maturity value, face value at the end. So this is why there's a note here. Issue price does not affect the required payment at maturity. So when the note is due, it's always the face value. Company must pay maturity value of the bond at the date stated on the bond and also the dollar amount stated on the bond.